next session is on, well, let me start by saying that the new normal is something that everybody is talking about. Some companies experienced digitization as a disruptor and principally as a threat to their core business. And yet they're being innovative in their use of the digital world and turning this threat into opportunity. So, for instance, BMW recently shifted its business model and included an increasing focus on being a niche software supplier, as opposed to a vehicle manufacturer. So, having spent a whole lot of money on software and technology services to improve their own customer experience, now they're marketing those services. So, I mean, is this the new normal, right? So, our next panel discussion is demystifying the new normal, what to expect in a post-COVID world. It's going to be moderated by Dr. Shiva. So let me just give you a brief introduction to Dr. Shiva again, though we've already been through that. He's the founder of GWFM. He has 20 years of experience in hiring, resource planning and management. He has experience in resource capability building and management, ensuring that skills, knowledge, abilities and performance of the workforce meet the current and future business requirements. He has designed and implemented world-class staffing processes to manage the big business growth and ensure sustainability. He has done his PhD in WFM maturity model from Sri JJT University. All right, so he has also a master's degree in human resources development from Swiss University and has done his MBA in HR from Bharati. So with this, I'm going to hand over to our next panel, which has a lot of eminent, experienced professionals. And so, over to you, Doctor.
Thanks, Seema, for a lovely introduction. Before you could start this panel discussion, I request Pawan to just come onto the camera. So quickly, we just talk about the courses which we are offering. Yeah, Pawan, so we have
Can you put on the slide? Yes, thanks a lot. I'll just take 30 seconds. Yes. I think 30 seconds more what told by the earlier panel. I think what Mushtaq was saying, Samir and Phil said. I think what we have come out is, yes, there are a lot of training programs which are available in the market, which are very audit specific or a standard specific. So, but the practical learnings and experiences are not available in most of the training programs which are available. So, along with the huge experience of the GWFM, that is coming along with the BCM training program, which is going to be a sort of a foundation program for resiliency and crisis management. It is an entry-level program, so that if we talk about organization resiliency, what is more important that our ground-the-line people and people who are managing the risk should be aware of the people and process aspect, not only the IT and auditing aspect of that. So with that view in mind, we realize that there is a huge gap. And that's the reason why when in the last two panels also what came out was that what we make plans and what happens in the ground, realities are very, very different. So to bridge this gap and to create a more informed community as a whole, so that our business damages can be really, really less and we can be much more proactive. We have come out with this program. This is going to be a 2 days program, and people from every field, not only from the BCM side, should be part of this, even all HR. So it is basically people plays a very, very important role. So HR, the IT, BCM professionals, crisis management, facility people, everyone is important for that. So we are going to launch this program from next month. So just to give you a heads up on that. So this is going to be a sort of a monthly or a bi-monthly kind of program we launch for various universities, various organizations. So we welcome you all to give your inputs on this, and we hope that this is going to be sort of a stepping stone and a sort of foundation thing going in future. I think that's all. Dr. Shiva, very thanks a lot for GWFM to give this platform and visibility on that. Over to you.
Thanks, Pawan, for talking about this course. In fact, one more thing to talk about it. Whoever is taking up the course would get the certificates from Canada and also from US accreditation, which really adds a lot of value in terms of upskilling and also skilling. Recent research, what we have done is all the managers, irrespective of the function, as Pawan mentioned, HR, like finance, operations, and BCM, marketing, and delivery. Everyone should know business continuity plan and management. This is one of the key skills for the managers now. If they don't really, have the skill, I don't think they will be able to, play any key role or, add value to the business. So I strongly recommend, and we strongly recommend this skill and the area is very much essential for most of the managers and also professionals. Who is going to be in the key functions of the organizations driving. This is something that very important skills to have. So what we recommend. We're happy to launch this by next month, as Pawan mentioned. Thank you so much. You will hear from us more very soon about what is this course and what is the fees, duration, and all. We'll connect with all the audience with later about the course. Thanks, Pawan, for taking this course through. Okay, so now we will get back to the panel discussion.
Before we start, Dr. Shiva, could you please add Shabir as a panelist?
Started him. Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Shabir. Go again. Okay.
Hi.
Welcome. Welcome to the third panel discussion. Here the last but not the least. We will make it very crisp and clear and also powerful. Let me just open up the slide to have context and also then we'll get into the deep of the panel discussions. Very important topic today that we're going to talk about it. We all know that everyone knows, and a lot of firms have been discussing about this topic, right? So how different and what is it different that we're going to convey to people here and also to the global market. In fact, GWFM is the first one to talk about education and academics, business continuity management, and how do they really manage? Because India is set that only you'll have to come to classroom to have this program or the classes running. How education should really taken this business continuity process and also management. We invited speakers from IIMs and also top business schools and engineering universities to talk about it. We did it in the beginning of April, sometime. That's when it was really picking up. And if you look at it, today's world, that organizations are really striving to make this business resilience happen. If you look at it, the organizations. Headcount, right? So most of the companies have slashed down 25 to 30% of the headcount. Either if they have more or less. Most of the cases, they have more resources, then less of the demands. All of a sudden, it's come down, and they really found it very difficulty in managing the customers, managing the talent, right? And how is it? What's the next level? And how is it? Is going to be way forward. Is how is that going to really do the reskilling, upskilling, cross-skilling, and making the talent ready for the future business scenarios, right? So we have very eminent panelists out here, and we're going to talk about demystifying the new normal. New normal is normal now, right? And let's talk about what do we expect and what do we see is something that business is going to look like, and work culture, workforce, and future business. So to talk about this, we have speakers, very interesting speakers. I'll ask each speaker to introduce yourself. We have Sushil here. Sushil is CEO of MITKAT Advisory. Sushil, can we have your introduction?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, Sushil.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so as you know, the slide that Dr. Shiva has so kindly put up, I'm Chief Operating Officer of MITKAT Advisory Services. I have been part of MITKAT for over 8 years now, and I spent 22 years in the military before that. So crisis management, resilience is something which innately goes with the job profile right from the time that I joined this profession 30 years back. And having seen various versions of it in uniform and out of uniform in various parts of the world, right from Sierra Leone in West Africa to Iraq to various parts of India which are in trouble, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. So have picked up a bit of experience along the way in management of incidents and crises, and more important in the current role as an advisor to our clients. So hopefully aspiring to get that tag of trusted advisor. And as a result of this experience that I picked up like a rolling stone, have been invited to speak at various forums across the world, and it's been a great enriching experience to interact with people from various professions in various parts of the world. And well, here I am as a panelist. Thank you so much. Nice to be here, and thanks to GWFM for this opportunity.
Thanks, Vishal, for your lovely introduction. Now we have a Dr. Grace Sampson. She's the editor of Informatica India. Great to have you with us, Grace, today. If you could just share about yourself. You're the best person to talk about yourself.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Shiva, and very good afternoon, everybody. Absolutely excited to be here, not just to share, but also to learn. And like you see on the charts there, I've got about 2 decades of experience in HR, which means end-to-end of, all gamuts of HR activities is something I've been very keenly learning along the way, I would say. I've been with Informatica for the last 2 years, and prior to that, I worked for companies like IBM, and multiple other startup organizations, along with a 4-year stint, which was my first job in a manufacturing unit. And so yes, apart from leadership advocacy, employee relations, and various other facets of HR, the new one that's been fascinating to all of us is business resiliency, and that's really why I'm here. So thank you, Shiva, again for having me here.
That's wonderful introduction, Grace. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next speaker. We have Sanbir Singh here. Sanbir is a Senior Manager Corporate Security APAC for Target. Good to have you with us, Sanbir. Could you have your introduction?
Sure, Dr. Shivan, and thanks for having me here. Great to be here and on this Saturday afternoon. Very quickly, I've been with the industry for close to about 20 years now. Been with the Indian Army for a short stint of 7 years. Moved out, joined the corporate security world, and quickly rose into various facets of risk management, including business continuity. Interestingly, I've been part of putting together a supply chain resiliency program for my previous organization. I've also done a little bit of work in terms of building business continuity plans across APAC, 9 different countries, 17 locations, etc. So ex-IIM graduate, I'm presently pursuing my international relations at Nottingham University. So yeah, good to be here, and I keenly look forward to this great discussions go forward.
That's amazing, Sanbir. Thank you. We'll have the next speaker. Today we have Jay Prakash Singh, Head of Business Continuity Management, Novartis Business Services. Good to have you with us today, Jay Prakash. Could you have your introduction, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Shiva. And thank you so much for having me here. So I'll keep it short in the interest of time. So I basically lead the business continuity at Novartis Business Services. I'm here to share my personal views and also to learn from various other speakers. All my experience have been in business continuity management, IT service continuity management, and most of my certifications are also related to that. Let's keep it till there, and I'll give others time. Thank you.
All right. That's wonderful, Jay. All right, so we'll go to next Colonel Premnath, CEO of Phoenix Safety and Crisis Management. Good to have you with us, Colonel Premnath. Could you have your introduction, please?
Oh, thank you, Shiva. Thank you, all the panelists. I hope you're able to hear me.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I've been batting for last 38 years as a professional across army, manufacturing, mining, and oil and gas. And what I believe in doing is currently I'm heading a company called Phoenix Safety and Crisis Management, which focuses primarily on the human and cultural aspects of safety, business continuity, and crisis management. And that's what I do. So how do you deal with these? Are all very, very serious subjects. So I make it fun and engaging, and that's the technique of and capturing the hearts and minds of people. And that's the kind of approach what I have, and that has been really successful. And to get a team of volunteers, safety leaders, safety ambassadors, resilience ambassadors as well. And that's what it is. And a few awards here and there, and the latest being the BCI India South Asia Award as the Continuity and Service Provider of the Year for an innovative approach to safety, culture, and resilience. And now shortlisted for a global award, the function in November. Hoping for your best wishes there, and also some other things like the brand manager for the BHP Bulletin, Beijing Olympics, and some things over there, and also won a national award in photography as well. So overall, promoting a culture and moving from paper to people, compliance to culture, from metrics to mindsets, and that's what I propagate on very passionately. And I've been very lucky that yes, my passion is my profession now. Thank you.
Thanks, Colonel, for lovely introduction. There's been great interaction of all the distinguished panelists. Good to have all of you, and thanks for taking your time out in the weekend. First question, we have very few questions today to make it very brief and crisp. For Sushil, is this going to be a straight line, new normal, or can it be ups and downs in future? If you could throw some light on how the situation is going to be in future, maybe 2021, 2022, 2023. If you could talk about some perspective about how the line, business line is going to be straight, or it's going to be either horizontal or vertical.
So usually in such interactions, we start by saying, "Oh, that's an interesting question. That's a fascinating question." Here, I can only say that's a real tough question, because honestly, if somebody asked me in another forum, what would you wish for if you had one thing, and I said a crystal ball, because that's something as part of my profession where we are into an advisory role. Everyone keeps expecting us to have answers to questions which we haven't even thought of. So this is another question somewhere along those lines, and I try and take it on as best as we understand, because we've been analyzing a lot of the trends that are coming up, and as I'm sure the entire audience and every one of you has been. So I'll look at three aspects very broadly. One is the perspective of health and the spread of the pandemic itself. The second is the recovery of the economy, and the third aspect is our life, the normalcy of our life. So to predict whether this will come back to a straight line after having bottomed out is difficult to answer, but yes, we can look at some aspects that contribute to the fluctuations along these. The first, and unfortunately all three of them are intertwined. it's not as if one can be isolated from the other. It's not as if one can be dealt with in isolation. All of them are intertwined and interconnected. So first is the pandemic and the infection surge. So will this go down? And we are talking of only India primarily. So will the infection surge continue? What will be the severity of cases? Will we have more fatalities? So that's something which in the near term we can say that currently we have not reached the peak. So we only realize that we've reached the peak once we start going down the other side. So currently there is no downward trend anywhere as yet. Of course, it is heartening that as compared to global figures, our fatalities as a percentage of the infections or of fatalities as a percentage of the population is low. But however, that's every life matters. Every life matters. What is going to change is when the new unlock norms kick in, where public transport will get enabled, where the education sector will start opening up for schools and colleges, where entertainment starts going back to normal, when sports starts going back to normal. And we have 4 tough months ahead of us because each month has a challenge, has a festival, a major festival in India. So we have Navratri, we have Diwali, we have Christmas, we have New Year. So the next 4 months are going to see huge amount of social interaction and reduction of social distancing. Add to that are 2 critical factors. One is that reinfection has now been established as probable, not just possible. There have been cases and we are likely to see more such cases in the coming future. There has been a setback to vaccine development, as you're all aware that there has been a setback to there has been some issue with the vaccines which are based on attenuated viruses. However, the heartening part is that those which are mRNA based are still going ahead in the trial phase. So connected to the infections is the economy, the new unlock norms which are coming into place. Thankfully, I think there will be a huge amount of government infrastructure spending also to use up the budget. I hope and pray that what we have seen as this huge drop or this huge trough in the economy with the negative growth is the bottom, and we are going to start climbing upwards from here onwards. So the possibilities and the probabilities look good. Consumerism and consumption is going to increase. So, whatever we were suffering because of demand and supply chain setbacks, both demand and supply losses, both will go up. And there are some silver linings to all of these clouds on the from the perspective of the economy. Again, here there are likely to be partial surges and localized controls. So it is unlikely that there is going to be a nationwide lockdown ever again in the near future unless things change completely drastically. Now that the countries realized how far we have suffered because of the lockdowns, which were, I guess, imperative, and there were reasons for going in for that to keep the fatalities down and to make sure that our healthcare system had learned to cope up with that. So there will be partial surges and localized controls because the economy has to go on and it can't just keep getting throttled continuously. And the last aspect is, will our lives go back to normal soon? So they are both connected to whether the infections will reduce and whether the economy will go up. So both are intertwined, and I don't think that's happening in a hurry. But definitely, I don't think there is going to be a flat line or a plateau very soon. There are 2 curves which don't show signs of flattening. One is the infection rate, and second is the downturn in the economy. Once those start flattening out or bottoming out, whichever way you want to look at it, that's the time we can start going back to some plateau. But if you ask me in a nutshell, I think there will be ups and downs, but these fluctuations will be less volatile and vary from industry to industry. So that is my takeaway on this.
Thanks, Sushil, for throwing light on ups and downs and also way forward as far as the market is concerned. Thank you so much. So now we'll talk about a little bit of human perspective. Grace, if you could throw some light on how has been the practices in Informatica or maybe in the market as well. Like initially when people scared of losing of the job, right, when it started March, April, and May, right? And psychologically, they've been really not been motivated to work from home, right? Workplace has changed, right? And nowadays the workforce is also changing, moving from FTE to like gig also is coming up as far as the cost is concerned. And if you could just share some light about how Informatica and also like some perspective about market, that how is it really happening, and what is your what's your takeaway, especially like what is the audience takeaway learning from Informatica's practices? Also, if you could share something about thought leadership in human resource.
Awesome. Yeah, sure. Thank you, Shiva. I wouldn't say great question, unpredictable question. I would say very real question in the real times that we are in. Right? Okay. So basically, before even getting to talking human, right? I think all of us are human beings, and being human comes very naturally to all of us, right? But the challenge is, how do we continue with humanity, right? And I think that's the million-dollar question all companies are facing, right? And it's very important to really understand first, what is the impact of this pandemic? I'm not sure. I'm getting some feedback. I'm so sorry about it. Is my audio okay?
There is an echo.
It's fine.
I'm not
I
sure.
guess if you have any echo, you can just connect it. We can hear you. Go ahead. Good. We can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. So if we look at the impact that this pandemic has created from a human perspective, right? From a psychological perspective, on our employees, not just employees, but our clients as well. If you look at the positives of employees feeling secure to work from home, right? That is a positive effect that is created, right? And employees really being able to spend time with family, a couple of other positives that we can keep talking about, right? With this whole work from home scenario. However, it has also created a lot of unpredictability, right? Fear of losing jobs, fear of losing lives, right? Fear of not being in control of the situation, right? And fear of how will my organization support and react, to this pandemic, and if I would really be able to have at least a fairly decent, predictable future. I think those are the uncertainties this pandemic has created, and that emotional turbulence that every employee is going through. Right? And if you look at the clients in terms of what is the impact that it has had on our clients, there is a very conscious way to rethink on investment, rethink on strategy, rethink on spending, right? Our clients are also going to the extent of saying, what does Informatica do to take care of its people, right? So basically, this whole safety, security coming into play. And it is very, very important to understand that keeping all of that impact in mind is how the future is going to be defined. Not just for Informatica, but for most of the corporates, right? And if we really go back to what you were talking about in terms of gig economy, we've really been crystal balling about this for a very, very long time. Right? And we know that a lot of seminars, webinars, panel discussions have happened where, we've really been trying to look at future of workforce, future of, multiple other ways we're going to be working. 50% of it is probably right, and 50% of that prediction has never been right. However, learning from past experiences, we're really seeing managers, trusting employees a lot more than earlier, right? Managers not wanting to establish that control environment anymore, right? Providing a lot more flexibility to employees, right? Focusing not so much on the process, but on the product or the result, right? And that's really, I think, going to stay. While there is a very, very strong compulsion to look at reskilling, upskilling, and also along the way to unlearn, right? And if I could really talk about Informatica, we've sunset a lot of heritage products. We've sunset a lot of heritage skills as well, because customer demands, customer need, and the whole redefinition of customer ask is very, very different, right? And accordingly, our rescaling needs have really moved forward, right? Apart from that, there is a huge shift in the way the senior leadership at Informatica is reacting, not just to the pandemic, but to people, right? And how do we really imbibe and how do we infuse an employee first culture? That has been one of the biggest focus for all of us at Informatica. And last but not least, I would say there is an elevated sense of focusing on product, focusing on not looking at heritage ways of getting things done, but finding newer solutions, smarter ways of balancing work and home. And also, I would say, while we are adding a lot of apples to the basket, you got to also get rid of the rotten ones, right? And that's what we've been constantly doing at Informatica, right? I mean, it's not just about, we got to do more, because that's only going to further stress us out, right? But what we've been really focusing on is which are those, apples that need to get out of the way, right, out of the basket. And that way you're reducing your to-do list as a resiliency team, as a leader, but you're also infusing newer ways of working. So that's really what is going to stay in the future. Considering these boundaries are really blurring between home and office, because office is really our bedroom right now in terms of definition, right? So I think that is going to stay. And my really last point is we are going to move into a blended model, right? We don't know what the pandemic has in store, but it's not just for this particular pandemic, right? WHO recently really talked about how we should be ready for the next pandemic. We don't know, right, how things are going to mutate or, how things are going to pan out. But the new normal probably is something where we have a blended model, right? Physical office spaces get leveraged more for collaborative work, right? And maybe these physical office spaces will transform into just collaborative workspaces, right? And while a large, workforce will continue to work from home. So that is probably the way we're going to balance for better, in a nutshell, Shiva.
Thanks, Grace, for emphasizing more on multiple areas on the human capital perspective. That's really been very important. HR has been playing a key role as far as building the right culture and ensuring the skill sets, at the same time mindset. These two aspects are very important. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really been insightful. And while we are moving on to a couple of more questions, request all the panelists to take a look at the questions asked by the audience. If you could just try answering them then and there through chat, that's fine. Or if you have some time, we'll take the questions up here. All right, so we'll go to Sanveer now. Sanveer, how did the resilience function rule in new normal will look like, and how will it evolve in future? If you could show some light on that, Sandeep.
This is again one of those crystal maze questions, right? I mean, I'll not say crystal ball; it's actually a maze. But let's look at it. The pandemic has actually taught us two things. how has organization and how has business continuity moved from an interpretation to an implementation stage? It's not easy. We all evolved as from managing the crisis initially, getting into being able to manage the differences of the pandemic, looking at what's happening from a government perspective, moving on from there to how the teams are feeling, how our own employees are feeling. And to Grace's point that a mindset change in terms of how we're looking at the pandemic versus enabling people to be comfortable from wherever they are working. In the initial opening up of Unlock One, a lot of employees thought, okay, let's go back to our parental home, let's go away from the metros to our original homes. A, to save costs, two, that the number of cases in the non-metro cities were lesser. So that evolved. The future would be a mix of multiple things. We'll have to start looking at uncomplicating resiliency. The words of crisis management, business continuity, security, health and safety, HR policies, employee relations, and to a great extent resiliency itself has got so much intertwined with the last 6 months. There is a shift in focus. Now, the business continuity professionals, or so to say the resiliency professionals, be it corporate security or otherwise, would have to look at two aspects. One is, how do you bring the entire organization together when it comes to managing a crisis or managing a pandemic? Gone are the days when we can say, okay, BCP does this, security does that, HSC does that, HR does that. No, the lines are blurred. And I think many of the panelists over here and the previous one who's spoken on this great forum will agree that we cannot work in silos anymore. You cannot be isolated in your own industry. Think about retail industry and the supply chain impact it has had. We had somebody in the previous panel talk about the airline industry and how it has impacted, not only the airlines, but the travel industry as well. The global supply chain model itself is so tightly knit, and thanks to the Japanese, we started looking at just-in-time manufacturing and just-in-time delivery models, right? What resurfaced as the whole engagement program was, people moving away from the traditional brick and mortar organizations to more virtual organizations. How are we buying things today? How many of us are comfortable going back to a mall today to buy clothes or shoes? Or would we go back to the likes of Amazon or Flipkart and order online, right? How are we buying vegetables? I mean, the entire shift is happening, becoming more and more employee-centric, more and more customer-centric. And that will continue to happen, because are you making your employees, your customers, your guests feeling safe to come back, right? I think Shakir on the previous panel discussion talked about they're doing a ton of things to make sure that, not only for the airlines, but also for the hotels, people feeling safe to get back. Now, do I, as a customer, feel safe walking into a 5-star after the pandemic is over? And is the pandemic really over? Sushil rightly brought it up. What about wave 2, wave 3? Do you want to see another impact in terms of a change in the mutated virus coming back? Those are some key questions which will continue to haunt us, at least for the interim time frame for the next 1 or 2 years, right? The world will not be the same. Google interestingly brought up that two words, the new normal that we're talking about, as well as unprecedented, have been researched over 8 million times a day on an average in the last 6 months. So, everybody says it's the new normal. And the new normal is not going to be anything new, right? Let's get ourselves very imbibed and grounded while saying this. Get used to wearing a mask. Get used to washing your hands. Get used to being away from people. Get used to, in the interim space, not meeting people for some time. And having these wonderful webinars, which also helps to connect, but virtually, right? So there would be a shift in 3 dimensions that I can kind of foresee. One is the overall work methodology. And going back to Grace's point, it would be a mix. I don't think 100% workforce, whether it is in India or across the board, globally would come back in the next 1 or 2 years to the offices. There would be a mix of approximately 30 to 40% people always working as a business continuity, resiliency plan. working from home. There would be shifts in that. Though there would be a lot of urge for people to get out of the house, come to workplaces, there would be a mindset change from the management side, and that is definitely required. The second is your global buying ways would change. You would never buy in the same way that you used to buy. That means that the entire retail landscape, which is over a $500 billion, industry in itself, would change. The third point, which is linked to the second one, is how are companies buying from different global partners? And that's going to take a shift because the pandemic would play its own game in different countries. Now, those who had operations majorly in the Southeast Asia or in China suddenly realized that those areas have suddenly become vulnerable. Add to that, there is always a shifting sand when it comes to crisis events. We're talking about pandemic today, but let us not forget that there is a huge ask for democratic protest across the globe. We are seeing some of that happen recently in Hong Kong. A lot of that is happening currently related to Black Lives Matter in the US. Look at what's happening right now by student protest in Thailand, right? So you would be dealing with managing crisis during pandemic situations. And that's not going to go away very soon. The geopolitical risk will continue to surface in addition to what the pandemic is. So that's my third point, right? And I would like to take a pause here. I think it's a long answer to a very interesting question, Shiva. Back to you.
Sorry, yeah. Thanks, Sandeep, for very emphasized sharing. There's really been a lot of data points that you've covered, and also situation, what really happened, and how is that it's going to be in future. Fantastic sharing. Great. Now we'll go to Jay Prakash saying, Jay, if you could just share some thoughts about how does the global companies create standardization across the region with the different levels of compliances and impact?
Sure. Well, if you really look at the word standardization, to understand the meaning, you'll have to slightly go back in the history, right? And right from the industrial age, standardization has been a constant term. And you have seen industries that have transformed, and those that did not standardize maybe lost the game, right? They lost the race. They could not evolve. So you could term standardization as maybe a negative thing, but then do we really need this, or will this happen in future? Now, if you also look at historically all the events that happened, the black swan events that happened in the past, organizations which had standard practices, they had to get over it. They had to lose them and create new ones, right? Again, do we really need standardization is what I'm questioning, right? I don't deny the fact that standardization has a lot of benefits like collaboration, sustainable development, and you can create a lot of productivity and efficiency. But is that the need of the hour? I think slightly no, because what we need now is organizations to be agile, right? And I remember the quote from my colleague Neeti, agile or fragile, yeah? And Hima was also alluding to that in the summary. So I think that's what we need to focus. And my personal view is that organizations should focus on slightly more on agility than standardization. When it comes to compliance and regulations, right? Again, you can derive references from the history, but compliance and regulations have changed only after some black swan events have happened, right? And that this does not also justify that we need to have standard processes. So all your compliance can be taken care of by some good compliant management lifecycle frameworks, but then what the organization needs to focus more on is being agile, being transformative. I think the organization should work on creating a better culture within the organization for adapting change. And again, adaptation has been the constant word from all speakers all through the conference. So I think that's the key here. Organization needs to keep changing, keep transforming, and keep adapting to new things. And my mantra would be is having a strong... Yeah, having a
Anu,
strong foundation. I think someone is talking. Premnath, you got to go on mute, Premnath. Okay, let's try again. So, yeah, so my mantra for everyone would be, build a very strong foundation with some flexible pillars. Strong foundation will make by having, good practice guideline followed, having, good people management policies, because people are the, biggest assets for the organization. And then flexible pillars would mean having localized, customized content for the regions. And that's the only way to survive these kind of incidents in future. I'll stop there, Shiva.
Thanks, Jay. You talked about people, that Grace talked about people first, right? Very informative stuff, and very good learning the process. So we'll now go to Prem, Colonel Prem. Colonel Prem, if you could throw some light on in the post-COVID world, what do you think are the changes in the three major factors: health and safety, as this is critical as shown by the pandemic, crisis leadership, and business leadership? I mean, changes in the training and crisis management and BCM. I think this is a very apt question for you, Colonel Prem. If you could throw some light on this.
Right. Thank you. You can hear me clearly, no?
Yes.
Sorry. We all are part of that group called the doomsayers. I think many of us are from security, risk, safety, crisis management, business continuity. We all are supposed to be the Nostradamus for a business, always saying that yes, there will be an explosion, there will be a fire, this is a risk. And the emperors, the kings, the business leaders may not even listen to us. When we started this pandemic also, it was like that, yes. Way back in February, when the whole thing started in January, I was telling one of the companies, yes, you must be prepared to start looking at the complete shutdown. They were laughing at me. And some of the colleagues also, business continuity professionals, when I spoke to them, they said the same thing. And that MP from Tamil Nadu, who got up in Parliament in March, and he, of course, died because of Corona recently. His mic was shut down when he said that, yes, we should think about, compensation, the loan. So when you speak the truth, I think you're shut down, and that's what it is. But we are supposed to. History, and in one of the forums earlier last week, I was saying that history has given us a unique opportunity to come up and speak out your mind, even if people don't listen. And people don't listen. And all the business leaders, by default, have become crisis leaders. It is something like a non-swimmer being pushed into the deep end of the swimming pool and trying to struggle for life. Now, coming out of the safety part of it, health and safety part of it, previously when you used to have E, H, S, E used to be this much, S used to be this much, and H, health part of it used to be this much, micro, nano. But now the H is magnified so much, and it has affected all the business functions, and that is the problem. We think that yes, we can be ceremonial. And when safety generally so far, and I've been a strong advocate of that as advocacy champion, that safety normally means compliance, audits, preparing for audits, celebrating audits thereafter, getting a few certifications, getting an award. But now we need to humanize safety. We need to think of the human ankles in safety. And that's where the problem is. Let's understand safety is all about people. Documents, SOPs, checklist, PDF documents, WhatsApp forwards, WHO forwards which you send to your employees cannot change culture, cannot motivate people. There is, as it is, oversaturation. So what we expect? When we start opening in safety, now leaders, we all have been wearing the mask, some of us wearing the mask like this. When the coronavirus, yes, we started wearing masks like this. And as what is called, now there's a lockdown fatigue which has come. So as the lockdown is being relaxed, progressively our mask has started moving southwards. And now most of the people in the world, including ministers, presidents, prime minister, chief ministers, start wearing the mask as if the coronavirus has found a new route of ingress. It has stopped coming through the nose. It has stopped coming through the mouth. It has started to the chin penetration. I think that's a new strain of mutated virus. That's the way. So when you get back to the new normal, or whatever normal you want to say, the lockdown fatigue, the people will be like, you've been released from a central jail, or the children, the primary school, just the school bell has gone. You just rush out, and you've seen in places, countries like New Zealand or various other countries which has declared corona free. You had lockdown parties, the end of corona parties which used to be there. And those who used to do namaste will start shaking hands again. The complacency will set in. It is a very tough challenge for people to follow the compliance mode once again. So from extreme care, we'll move to extreme careless. Oh, the coronavirus is over. In Hindi we say, Chale gaye thanedar, ab dar kahe ka. That exactly is the problem. As safety, security, BCM professionals, if you walk to the leadership and say, sir, we require budgets for 2021-22 financial, they say, oh, we've given enough money for sanitizers, face masks, and that's not budget. So the question to ask is safety considered as a cost or as an investment? The people have to understand that, yes, safety is all about people. It's an investment. It's a lifesaver. And the realization, and we have a very tough mandate to do, because the public memories of the leaders, business leaders, politicians, everything is so short. If there's a terrorist attack in Mumbai from 26/11, we will not learn the lessons. So we say, okay, pandemic is gone. We call it, pandemic is a black swan, even a beautiful term to use. The swan was always white. Because you're wearing dark glasses, you saw it as a black swan. Because it was in your risk register, you just discarded it. When your PCM professional said, sir, let's do a tabletop drill on pandemic, he said, no. Let's do it on cyber security. That's the most glamorous thing to do. And that was everybody is doing. So don't make a poor swan white. Let that poor innocent bird remain black. Don't make it black, remain white. I mean, that's what I'm trying to tell you. So what do? Safety. In the post-COVID world, please understand, it is not an office function. It is safety everywhere. And that's what when you visit my website, we'll have a look at it. I talk right thing about when you go for a team outing, one bus which overturns and kills 30 people from your 20 from your finance, HR, security. I think that's a business continuity. So safety has to extend. In this case, safety has, Sanveer was saying that yes, most of the people work from home as well. Safety has a work from home dimension. So we have to demonstrate care. My own experience, I had a beautiful contract with one of the huge MNCs, not to be named here. The purchase order was given. Everything was going fine. And when the corona struck, and after 2 months thereafter, I asked them, shall we restart the program? No, Colonel, no. Let us wait. Let people get back to the office, and then we will talk about safety culture. If you lose a historic opportunity when people are weak, they are vulnerable, they are fearful, people are scared to return to the office, the best time to strike the iron when it is hot. Similarly, when people are weak, vulnerable in a listening mode, you have to strike at safety culture as well. So that's what it is. So regarding some of the other things, yes, don't use the word global. I myself worked in great global companies. When you approach to people, when they say we are a global company, we have got SOPs, checklists, documents. And one of the security managers in one of the companies said, Colonel Premnath, you will not believe virus cannot enter our location. And how many case studies in the public forum, I'm not taking the name of the great companies of globally whose work from return to office documents are circulated across the world as best practice documents. They had to shut down their office, some of them in the very first day. So we have a beautiful corporate films which says, we are ready to welcome you. Sanitizer, the facility head is branding himself with thermal scans. But if you get a coronavirus case once again after returning, can you regain the trust? Obviously not. So getting back to the office is something like Khatron Ki Khiladi, the fear factor. So we can tell somebody or anybody else, Akshay Kumar, who has to host a Khatron Ki Khiladi of getting back to the office. So health and safety has to be a KPI. You can go through a Deloitte study which says safety has to be a KPI. The leaders have to inspire about safety. That's what it is. The leaders have to participate. We don't want leaders who come and bless the proceedings. That there is an audit going on, ISO 27001, 45001, whatever one it is, 22301. They come for the audit kickoff meeting. They'll say, okay, Sam, you're very good. Okay, let's carry on. And they come for the closing ceremony. We don't want ministers. We are leaders to inspire about safety. And leaders have to be storytellers in safety. Leaders have to participate, walk the talk, and not talk the walk like most of the people do. If you on a National Safety Day, you give a lecture, or during Corona, you give a lecture on mask, and you're wearing a mask like this, I think people lose their faith in it. So appreciate lavishly. Many of us in this forum, safety, security, BCM, facility professional, we are the most unappreciated. Shall you appreciate each other? On the forums, on the groups where we have. Companies have to brand with safety. That's what the Deloitte study says. If you brand with safety, give customer confidence, I think that is the difference with business differential. And recognize, and the training has to be much more practical, much more role specific. There has to be crisis leadership training, crisis communication training. Train your HR teams on caring in crisis. They're learning to deal with double disasters like pandemic. Like I use this example very often, and some of you would have heard me earlier. It is like aloo. It's a universal potato, is a universal vegetable. It has a combo with onion. It can be aloo gobi, aloo bindi. So similarly, aloo is the coronavirus, COVID. So COVID plus cyclone, COVID plus earthquake, COVID plus flood. How many of us are trained in that? How many of us know about it? Are our families prepared? So that's what I'm saying. So you have to really, really use this opportunity to upskill yourself. Many of us have certified. Some of us hold maybe 5 to 10 certificates with a long tail of names. But now is the time to have a 360 approach, seek knowledge, and be a humble professional. And leaders, the message for the leaders is intellectual humility and professional humility. Understand that you are a human being first, and you're equally vulnerable. The virus does not look at the designation cards. The man who's going to drop the food packets in a flood, he's not going to see whether it's a vice president or a managing director. And that's what it is. So everyone has to participate. Departments have to collaborate. Safety, security, don't have a tunnel vision. Integrate the entire effort like an orchestra. You need to be together. That's what my message is. Shiva, back to you.
Thanks, Colonel. Those really fantabulous scenarios sharing. It's really has a lot of takeaways in this. So we have exceeded the time. What we will do is I'll just stick to last question. It could take 1 or 2 minutes maximum. Preparing for the future, like resilience or continuity as a strategic business enabler. If you could share 1 or 2 minutes of your takeaways to the audience.
Question to
Yeah,
Shiva?
shall I go first?
Yeah, I think Grace did not hear the question. Question is preparing for the future, resilience or business continuity as a strategic business enabler. Preparing for the future, how the resilience, business resilience, or business continuity, strategic business, how it can be strategic business enabler. How we can really make strategic business enabler. Would share 1 or 2 minutes of takeaways to audience. Yeah.
Sure. So I think business continuity, even before we get to strategic enabler, I think is of primary essence now than ever before, which means the focus is going to remain, right? Because that's what helps us hold on to our strategy very strongly, right? Now, why is it a business enabler? Because we are all going to stay very close to market intelligence, which means we're also going to continue to understand our clients much more, right? And I'm requesting people to go on mute if you're not talking. I think that's why the feedback. Sorry about that. Thank you. And also, when we are looking at our client needs very, very closely, it is a great opportunity to right size the organization. Right? We kind of reassess our staff, not just in terms of quantum, but also in terms of the quality of staff. When I say quality, I'm pointing to skills. Right? Are these the right skills, the right needs that that will solution for our clients, right? And last but not least, it definitely gives us an opportunity to constantly look beyond the obvious, right? Like and I think Colonel Prem put it very well, the potato theory, right? So we don't know what is the permutation combination of situations that we will land up into, right? So looking at and like how the virus is not very obvious to our eyes, I think we got to constantly get prepared for the obvious, and also look not just again connecting the human angle and saying don't just look at the physical scheme of things or the process scheme of things, but delve deep into looking at the invisible, which could be emotional health, well-being, which could be multiple other of our processes, which we realize was important only when it breaks down, right? So I think that's really my reasoning behind why personally I strongly believe business continuity is definitely going to continue to be a strategic enabler, not just for the organized sector, but across the globe. I think that's really going to be the way forward. Shiva, thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Grace. Yeah. We'll go next.
Yeah, I can go next. This is Jeff. Yeah. Okay, so I do think as well that resilience and continuity is a strategic business enabler, and this is my analogy. We have seen this COVID situation for so many months now. Now we can categorize organizations into two buckets, right? One, an organization which did not have an official business continuity or resilience program, but still survived this whole weather. And those organizations have a strategic opportunity to convert those operational continuity measures into formalized business continuity, and then focus on resilience posture. So that's definitely an opportunity for them, for the strategic leadership. The second kind of companies are those which had very good resiliency programs, continuity posture, and for them, the strategic leadership could take advantage on converting some of the risks into opportunities. And then, since their organization is doing fairly well in this crisis scenario, strategic leadership could start thinking about serving customers in a much better fashion than before, coming up with innovative ideas to suit the current needs. So I think BCM, resilience programs, all of these have always been strategic enablers, and it'll always be in future too.
That's great, Jai. How about the next one? Probably Colonel, if you want to take, or Sanbir?
Sure.
Or institution?
Sure, you want to go ahead?
Good, Sanbir. Yes.
Right, great. Awesome. So I think, two points that comes to mind when I look at preparing for the future. Business continuity, crisis management will always remain an integral part as an enablement function. Now, from there, if we can make it as a culture of resiliency, and culture of resiliency is much more different than just business continuity. When you start thinking of what-if scenarios which are built into the business itself versus a business continuity manager going and talking about it. Why do we do tabletop exercises? We do it because we want to rehearse that people are prepared. Now, if the culture of preparedness gets ingrained as, so much ingrained that, you wear seatbelts not because the law tells you to wear, but because, you have to keep yourself protected, right? And that's the culture which has to come in. Now, unfortunately, in the Indian parlance, We would wear a mask because maybe we can get a fine of 100 rupees on the road if the cop catches you, not because we want to save ourselves, right? And then to Colonel Premnath's point, the mask has started hanging around the chin. That culture has to be built from within, and the culture would not come alone by people standing on rooftops and talking about business continuity. It is when we all have felt and lived through a crisis event as big as a global pandemic, when we know that complacency has got no space in business, and the mindset would have to be evolved to look at what is not a written norm. Black swan or no swan does not matter. I mean, for as far as the nature is concerned, both have got the wings to fly. And if we look at internally, are we creating an environment where the business thrives irrespective of what happens? Is your strategy in the long run knitted together with looking at what if the strategy fails? Have we not put complacency ahead of the business and said, okay, this is a great plan, we would win it, versus it's a great plan, but what if we don't win it, right? And that's where I look at, building from within, and getting the environment change or the cultural change, which should not only happen at the leadership level, but at the grassroots levels. Whether you are hiring the right talent, or whether you're grooming the right talent to become leadership tomorrow, or for the existing leadership to create a pipeline where everybody looks at how I'm going to have a resiliency which is within me, right? I'll just take a stop there because I know we're in the interest of time, we could go on further, but I think it's a cultural aspect which has to change in the long term.
Thanks, Sandeep, for your thought process. Yeah, can we have Colonel Prem and Sushil? Can we stick to 2 minutes maximum so that we already exceeded the time? We'll try to. Yes, please.
Thanks, Shiva. I'll go next. So I'll leave the closing 2 minutes for Colonel Prem. So essentially, I want to bring about 3 issues. One is that the concept of resilience is, rebounding from an adversity. I think those organizations which adopt a culture of anti-fragility, where they start learning from their drawbacks, where they start learning from their setbacks, and improving beyond that, improving beyond what they were by using those words which have already been used of agility, transformation, etc. Only those organizations will prosper and thrive. We are not talking about survival. We are talking about prosperity and thriving beyond what they were. So anti-fragility will lead to prosperity. Second is that from the human and personal angle, I think there is no magical cure coming along anywhere soon. So let's all be prepared to live through. Let's all be prepared to tackle the situation as it is, whether it's from the business perspective, whether it's from the work perspective, whether it's from the personal perspective. And the third issue is that, the physical limitations that have been imposed on us by the pandemic are here to stay. So any organization that adopts technology to overcome those physical limitations will survive and thrive. So technology is the new mantra to overcome social transformations. So those are my 3 takeaways for this.
Thank you. And can we have Colonel Prem's perspective?
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for giving me the privilege of winding up the discussion. And thank you the panelists. What I wanted to say, safety DCM is, and I will repeat it like a parrot. You will hear me this again and again, like an old broken stuck record. Safety is all about people. It's not about SOPs, document, checklist. As an organization, build up your credibility. When you're trying to have a business continuity, you get a beautiful certificate and a CAI award with a smiling CEO receiving the award of a Safety Excellence Award. On the very same day, your company, one employee dies or gets injured in a road accident. What's the point in getting an award if one person from your company dies on the roads without wearing a seatbelt? The company wins a Safety Excellence Award, but your employee dies. That's exactly what I'm saying. Build up the credibility. That's more important than getting multiple certifications, awards and all. Nothing can save you. So that's what I focus on. That yes, build the ownership. Leaders have to be role models. leaders have to inspire with safety, inspire and perspire with safety. Don't bless it. And one very important thing which I wanted to say is that please, vendors, and I am a very strong proponent. There's another thing which I say. You ask companies, okay, what about your building safety and management? Oh, that we've given it to CBRE, JLL. Okay, what about security then? Oh, that's given to Group 4. That means you have outsourced the emotions, you have outsourced the accountability, you have outsourced empathy. Vendors, contract workers are not children of lesser gods. They have the same color of blood as we have. We need to take care of them. And that's a complete different study. I've conducted vendor motivation sessions in one of the companies here, in 2-3 companies here in Hyderabad itself. And that really works. Rather than telling them that, yes, if you do this, clause number 87 penalty. So you can't do that. You need to put it. It is like, as I said, it's an orchestra. And I have success stories of safety leadership really matters, where business leaders have become campus safety leaders. So, and safety cannot be only in the office. It has to, I mentioned the name of that company, I mentioned the company said, we will start safety culture building when people are back to the office. Why not now? There is family safety, there is holiday safety, there is travel safety, and there are personal safety also. There are cases where the COVID patients have been molested by the ambulance drivers or maybe by the people in the camps. So we need to talk about personal safety as well, even during COVID. Don't think it is only during the road, on the road. So team up. And let me also tell you, focus on transformation. Focus on transformation now, not information. Don't send a huge mega WhatsApp forward or a WHO forward to the employees. So it is not the time for information. You've got enough of information. Everybody is a WhatsApp university professor. We don't need professors to be educated further. We need transformation and discard the tunnel view. And all of us, safety, security, everyone has to collaborate together. And leaders and BCM professionals, everybody across, please manage safety and resilience with metrics. Please do not manage with safety metrics, manage with their emotions. And the last point which I wanted to say, own this function, Dil Se, and make the leaders also own this function about Dil Se and win over the hearts and minds of people. It will make your life much easier. And be a doomsayer. Look over the hill. What could happen? Now the time, October, November, there's going to be cyclone season in the Bay of Bengal. So is Chennai, Calcutta, all those places prepared, as I mentioned with the Alu analogy. So that's what I wanted to say. Let's focus on people, and communicate, and leadership. And that's what it is. And I'm also happy to declare that, yes, I have a webinar with the PCI, part of the Education Month on 18th of September. I already published in LinkedIn. Do join me, and that I'm going to talk about people first, the forgotten human factors in crisis management. That's a webinar on 18th September. That's it. Thank you, everyone, and namaste. Since Corona, we are not supposed to shake hands.
Thanks. So we have one question from Rohit. Just take 2 questions totally. So 90% of companies, including MNCs, could work from home successfully, though they did not have any formal BCM in place. What does this indicate for future of BCM? This is a question from Rohit. It's a fantastic question. Any of you would like to take? If you could answer crisply in 1 minute.
Sure, if that's okay, I will take that question on.
Yeah, please.
Sure. So this is a clear function of technology resilience. What has really happened over the last couple of years is, and probably Jay on the call would kind of agree with me here, is that over time, our infrastructure, whether it is related to how we manage our VDI connectivity or VPN networks, or whether it is inclined towards how the utilities, across the country, especially for the metros, have evolved. Whether it is your internet connectivity, given that there are 4 major players in the internet space in India, or whether it is your power. So with that stabilization, what has really happened is this was something which most organizations did not prepare for. We typically test 10 to 15% of people to work from home. But what really happened is when the entire 100% workforce was asked to work from home, this was just a byproduct of overall utility resilience which has been built over time and the tech evolving. So it was a blessing in disguise. I don't think any company really prepared for saying that, okay, we'll have 25,000 people working from home one fine day.
Yeah, I would just say the organization is lucky they have to look at other factors now, considering they have survived the COVID so long. The worst is coming, is what I was called.
Okay, there's one question from one of the audiences. How well is the industry prepared to handle second wave or second wave pandemic? I think that's really no one knows that how is that going to be, right? What extreme level? Probably someone can share some light on that. Colonel Prema, if you want to, or any of you. Grace.
Yes,
Second
I was
wave
just saying
readiness.
that yes, the second wave of the pandemic is something we will handle better than the first, because we've gotten a little intelligent from our past experiences. However, this is also going to throw newer challenges that we need to prepare for, right? And of course, there may not be that much of panic really, because we know it's coming, but we got to elevate our level of preparedness just to ensure, if the pandemic's really going to be shaking our nests, then we need to learn and prepare to fly. It's as simple as that, right? And organizations really need to be that wind under the wings of employees to just keep moving forward as we continue to prepare on the move. So that's really my long answer to that short question, Shiva. Thank you.
Thanks.
I have one more perspective. Yeah,
yes.
One more perspective on this, Shiva, if you permit me.
Yes, go ahead, Colonel. Yeah.
Okay. One more perspective on this is that we as human beings, organization, leadership, countries, organization, do not learn from incidents. Let's say take a simple case. When we started the pandemic, 1918 pandemic, and can you go back home and do a Google search and look at the posters of 1918? They are the same, equally applicable even now. I have them. When I conduct these sessions on pandemic safety culture thing, I talk about it. I said the same posters, just change the date and put it over. Mumbai floods. It is a flood every time, and the same lessons are learned every time. Cyclones in Chennai, let's see, one more cyclone comes in. So it's the same. A bomb blast, 26/11. Are the other hotels learning about it? We can sound confident. And I will also request all the participants to go through 2018 Deloitte survey, global survey on crisis management, which clearly says confidence outstrips preparedness. Please note this, very powerful words. Confidence outstrip preparedness. That was your so confident. Kuch nahi hoga, like a 3 Idiots movie. All is well. That's what happens. So unless we have a learning culture, we learn a lessons from 1918 pandemic and all the Spanish flu, whatever version you want to take about Chinese, Japanese, whatever it is. Unless you take the lessons and learn within the organization, outside, external, things cannot happen. Otherwise, we'll be condemned. There's a very famous quote, I end with that. History is condemned to repeat for those people who do not learn from it. History is condemned to repeat for those people who do not learn with. We commit the same mistakes, same blunders on a new day and on a new date. That's all. The players may change. That's it from me.
Wonderful. Thanks, all the esteemed panelists. It's really been a great conversation, and I see that in huge takeaway. There are a lot of questions from the audience. Interest of time, we will take them offline. We will share all these questions to the panelists. Probably you could answer them. And audience, we have registration of 315. That has been fantabulous. And we had audience joining us 120, 135 at times. So it's been under 110 on an average whole day. And great participation and wonderful panelists for the my panel discussions. It's really great learning. For me, it's been a new learning and huge takeaways for me, and also I'm sure that the same for the audience. So we will take the questions a little later. Offline. With this, thank you so much for all the audience. All the panelists today. Thank you so much, Grace, taking your
Thank
time.
you, Shiva.
And
Pleasure.
Sanbir, Premnath, and
Thank you.
and I think we have left the other person. So Jay, Jay, thank you so much. It's been a great interaction and a great learning overall. I request all the panelists, whoever is there, to come onto the camera. Can we take one selfie, all of us together? Can we all join us together? And Padma, you also join in, and all of them, Ojas, and do we have? This can take 25 cameras. Can you all join us, please?
Great. While everybody joins in, just a quick summary of the takeaways of the last session, which is that horizon scanning might have to be done differently because the future will be defined keeping two factors in mind: conscious cost cutting, prioritizing safety and security of employees, and elevated sense on finding smarter ways of working, not to do more but get redundant functions out of the way, a blended hybrid way of working. Physical office spaces may transform into collaborative spaces. There's going to be a shift from brick and mortar to virtual, change to the retail landscape, both for consumers as well as companies. Standardization, I don't know whether it's here to stay because organizations need to be agile and transformative. Compliance and regulations need to change after black swan events. Crisis leadership needs to have intellectual and professional humility. Safety is a investment, not a cost. It has to be a KPI, and one has to build credibility as an organization and inspire safety. Focus has to be on transformation, not information. Discard the tunnel view and create a culture of anti-fragility and not just resilience, which will lead to prosperity. Some repetitive things that came up in all the three sessions, all the three panels: training required in effective skills, bringing our whole organization together. There has to be a coordinated response always and not work in silos. Create a culture of adaptation, and technology will be the new mantra to overcome transformations. I think with that, this sums up the panel discussions. Shall I just hand over to Sushil for a quick vote of thanks? Sushil, if I may.
Thanks, Hima, for summarizing the third panel discussions and all others. I request all the audience and whoever is here to just take a picture of this and invite all of you to join in our social media. We are 20,000 people worldwide, and opportunity to connect with multiple people worldwide. And we do a lot of things together, GWFM and MITKAT. Use the hashtag when you're responding or when you're reposting or posting, so that we get connected. And all the audience, all these speakers, can be connected. So we are already there in the tagging in the LinkedIn. If you look at it, that's been a great connecting all of us together. And you will hear from us as far as the program is concerned. So with this, yes, all yours, Hima.
All right.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Shiva and Hima. So I think Hima has pretty much summed up every panel discussion after it actually took place. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time because we already overshot by quite a few minutes. I will just take this opportunity to just thank on behalf of GWFM and MITKAT every single person who's here as a panelist, as a moderator, and all the wonderful audience who flooded us with their questions. So many questions that I'm sure we have lots of things to address and lots of things to ponder about when we leave this gathering. And with that, I would like to officially call an end to these proceedings on behalf of GWFM and MITKAT. Thank you everyone once again. Goodbye, stay safe, and till we meet again on a similar platform again.
Thank you. Before we log off, can we just thumbs up? Can we do a thumbs up and we'll click one picture? Well, I'm going to click one picture, so let's have thumbs up. Yeah, wonderful. All right. Thank you so much. Really pride and privilege to host together, and I personally thank each one of you for taking your time out on this Saturday. I know that how busy you have been throughout, and only you get little time in the weekend. Really appreciate your presence. It has been immense learning and takeaways for the audience and also for everyone. And we will share the video very soon. Let's stay connected in the social media. Let's tag each other and post it. Okay, all the panel discussions video is going to be made all over. Let's stay connected. Stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Stay safe.
Thank you
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Wonderful weekend. Thank you.